Hello, guys. Welcome to NEPA Story. I'm Kylie Montigney, and today we have John Maurer. He's a critically acclaimed trumpet player and music educator located in Dingmans Ferry, PA, with his wife and two sons. He has traveled, taught, and performed all throughout North America, including various venues, including the Arizona Biltmore, the Bryce Jordan Center, the Lincoln Center, Tully Hall, PPL Center, Kimmel Center for the Performing Arts, Curtis Institute of Music Center in Alberta, Canada. He also performed as a soloist for public figures such as the Reverend Jesse L and Prince Edward, Earl of Wessex. And his rendition of the Star Spangled Banner has been nationally recognized and has performed the United States National Anthem for the New York Yankees this past April, the Philadelphia Phillies since 2015, the Scranton Wilkes-Barre RailRiders, Lehigh Valley Phantoms, Sussex County Minors, Binghamton Rumble Ponies, NCAA Division I Penn State men's basketball, NCAA Division I Penn State's ice hockey, and the Drum Corps International Eastern Classic. He's currently one of the teaching artists at the Bethel Woods Center for the Arts in Bethel, New York, the historic site of the 1969 Woodstock Festival. He is currently on a music facility at Marywood University. Along with being a father, husband, musician, and educator, he's almost 5 years sober, an advocate for autism acceptance, mental health awareness, and an amputated triathlete. Having completed his first Ironman 70.3 2 weeks ago. Thank you, John, for joining us today. It is an honor to have you and really appreciate you coming on and taking the time.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So, can you share with us kind of what initially sparked your passion for playing the trumpet and how your passion kind of grew over the years?
Yeah, sure. So it all started actually with kind of a tragic event that took place in my life. So many things in all of our lives happen with catastrophic events. You know what I mean? There's one way or the other that we can go. And for me, what happened was my mother passed away from cancer when I was 8 years old. Um, Looking for places for an outlet from that tragic event that took place in my life, I found music. And it wasn't necessarily performing music, but it was listening to a lot of music and kind of shutting out the world and trying to understand what took place. Um, and the year after that, I was 9. I was able to pick an instrument in the school band. I was in fourth grade. And it just so happens that we had an assembly to like where we could like with different instruments, and in this assembly with the different instruments, the band director at the time would play each instrument, and he would play a little jingle, a little tune for each instrument. And it just so happens that when he picked the trumpet, and he picked the trumpet up to play a certain song, a certain tune, he played the theme from Star Wars. And as it turns out, I was a huge Star Wars fan. I still am. I'm a huge Star Wars nerd. And I was like, wow, you can play the theme from Star Wars on the trumpet. This is incredible. So I picked the trumpet. And the rest is history, I guess you can say. That kind of initially started me on the trumpet. I was able to then use the trumpet as an outlet for myself, for expression. Through what I was dealing with through my life, growing up right outside Philadelphia in Upper Darby, Pennsylvania. It was kind of like, a semi poor, financially poor household, single father now, raising myself and my younger sister. And, it was my way to kind of express myself. Now, I would be kind of remiss, though, if I didn't mention throughout my schooling, my spark wouldn't have continued with music and trumpet if I didn't have really important figures in my life concerning like music education. So music teachers and my band directors. My first band director that I mentioned that played the trumpet, that did the assembly, my elementary band director, his name was Brad Shaner. He also passed away a couple of years ago, actually from cancer as well. But he had such an impact on me, starting out as a little guy and then going to middle school with Tim Blessington, who was another important figure in my life when it comes to music education, and a music teacher and a band director. And then going to high school, having Jason Merzak and Chad Hunter, and then also starting private lessons with a gentleman named Larry Davidson, who I would take private lessons with I think it was once a week, every evening in his home. And he was so great. He made the trumpet like just so much better, that, so much more um, cooler, like what you could do as a trumpet performer and a music educator. And he kind of struck that spark with me on like how I can not only teach music and be a music teacher, because that was kind of always in the back of my mind through my other band directors, but also to perform.
Mhm.
And like giving me like, different recordings of like maybe Clifford Brown or Louis Armstrong, Miles Davis, Doc Severinsen, Nicholas Payton, Maurice Andre, different recordings, and just kind of making it that much better and that much more of a way for me to kind of express myself. Yeah, so it was kind of, the beginning was with the death of my mother, finding the music, then finding the trumpet, and then my music teachers, my band directors, and my private lessons teachers, and that continues to this day. All through. Then I graduated high school, and I, continued with music education, getting a degree in music education, having those figures, having music educators still important role models in my life. Graduate work at Penn State, and then graduating from Penn State, and to this day, still having teachers. So that kind of always made sure that the spark was always there. Having those role models, having those people to look up to, I think was really the culprit of it all.
I
So
love it. Like I like that you had like a bunch of mentors in your life because not a lot of people have that. And like some people oftentimes find themselves in music because maybe they have family members that are musicians or something, so they decide to do it too. I know a few people that have done that, but it's great that you literally saw a teacher do that. So you're like, oh yeah, this is pretty cool. Like why not just do it? But were you like a big music person before you did the trumpet?
well, like I said, no, like, I grew up around music. Before my mother passed away, I remember her listening to like Fleetwood Mac and
Mhm.
Heart. I remember she had cassette tapes. Cassette tapes are these, like, no, I'm just kidding. For all the young people out there that don't know what cassette tapes are, but I remember her having like cassette tapes of like Fleetwood Mac and Heart and Led Zeppelin, and those like classic rock type bands and so forth. My dad was always listening to music, constantly. Steve Miller and Cat Stevens, and Ozzy Osbourne, and even, I would kind of actually say he was the first to kind of introduce me to jazz music, even before my band directors and my private lessons teachers. I remember him listening to Benny Goodman, big band, and Glenn Miller, listening to those types of recordings at home. But I was never really involved with music per se until my mother passed away, and then I was able to pick an instrument at school, and I picked the trumpet, and the rest is kind of, it's kind of my my kind of fate. The
Mm.
stars aligned in that regard, because, like, here I am making a living, traveling uh, traveling the world performing the trumpet. um, been very blessed to do so, and also teaching music, so it's been a journey, to say the least, from there to now.
It seems like it. Like I
Yeah.
really never had anyone musical in my family. I just been around a bunch of people that, kind of done musical stuff or just watched that. Like I grew up listening to music. Like all I do is listen to music. Like I'm like into everything. It's like country, pop, rock and roll. Like I'm into everything. It's crazy how much music I play. Like one snap it's country, one snap it's probably rock and roll. So it's like
Hmm.
it always changes. And I know I'm 17 years old and I listen to rock and roll, which is not normal to me, which I don't know why I'm obsessed, but recently I have. No hate to anyone that doesn't like it. Everyone has different tastes, but I personally love
Yeah.
it, which is so bad. It's a bad obsession. But it's honestly everyone has a love of music in some way, like everyone has a different journey with music. You don't have to play to love it, you can just love it and do whatever you want with it. You don't have to have a
Mhm.
specific career, like maybe like a teaching degree for music, you don't have to
Oh
go to
yeah.
degree if you love it that much.
Well, it's really like the power of the collective, music is the power of music people don't quite realize, it it it, it is it is the one, I think, art form. I wouldn't necessarily even call it that to that degree because, you know, recently, and we can even go into this later if you would like, but recently I did a camp at Bethel Woods Center for the Arts. I'm one of the lead teaching artists at Bethel Woods Center for the Arts, which is the historic site for the 1969 Woodstock Festival. So I'm in, historical ground, like
Yeah.
sacred ground, say the least, when it comes to music and art, especially and Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin and Santana, and like it all played on this on these grounds. And recently did a rock camp there for the past 2 weeks. I just finished actually. And we brought in students to come in and perform any type of genre. It doesn't have to necessarily be rock, but because we did blues and funk and all sorts of stuff. But we had a guest artist come in. His name is Juma Sultan, and he was actually the percussionist for Jimi Hendrix,
Mm.
which was amazing to meet and talk with him. And one thing that really struck with me was how there at Woodstock, there was no agenda besides bringing people together,
Mm.
for the love of music and just the love of the collective. And it really hit me hard because it's like you said, everyone, they might have different tastes of music, but everyone loves music,
Yeah.
and it's just, and can you name really anything else that can bring, no matter what your background or your belief is or where you're from or what's your favorite color or whatever, music, no matter what, brings people together, to one collective, because music kind of expresses that, like, we all experience this thing of life, we all go through these different emotions, and we're all in this thing together, and it really hit me hard. It's just like that happened, last week, and I'm still learning this. Like I've been playing music since like I said, I was 8 or 9 years old. So it's like you said, it's so powerful, and it's a great reminder of that. So yeah,
It
no matter how
can.
old or how young you are, there's always that power of music, and there's always this, like, we're going through this thing together.
The
So
best thing about music is that everything is different and it can help you connect with your emotions. That's
oh,
what
most definitely.
I realized is that every song that you hear has a different meaning and it can relate to your life. Like there's so many songs I've been listening to on repeat recently just because it's been my life now the last few weeks. So,
Hmm.
gotta get it out, like get the emotions out when I listen to those songs. Maybe it's like listening to Taylor Swift and how big she is right now.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
with big artists like Taylor Swift, like she's making a difference, man. Like, I mean, she's always been big, ever
Yeah.
since I was like a little kid. But right now, ever since she started dating Travis Kelce, I'm like, man, like she's just on fire right now. Like, what else can we say?
Yeah.
Like, either
Yeah.
love or hate Taylor Swift. You gotta love what she's doing, no matter if you love or hate her. I mean, yes, I think she might be a little overtalked a little bit. Don't hang on me for that, but with a big artist like her, like I can't admit she is a talented artist and deserves recognition, but maybe not as much as people make it out to be.
Well, I mean, she's also inspiring just the generations of people, which is really the ultimate, I think, the ultimate kind of goal, I guess you can say, for musicians, is to kind of connect with one another, and to inspire and inspire hope, and inspire and kind of motivate others, and kind of give people this connection that they also wouldn't have, you know. And I think she's doing that, you know.
She is like there's
Yeah,
literally tons of Taylor Swift fans out there that I feel
yeah.
like if you're a Taylor Swift fan, you also have to know another Swiftie because how big a fan this is. Like you have to know someone. Like I
Oh
know
yeah.
like a ton to the point where I can't even count. Like there's honestly a lot of Swifties out there. But like what you see it with her Eras tour, like how many people are going and everything and posting videos like in her shows she's putting on. And it's like she's a great performer as well. I seen videos like she's definitely inspiring a lot of people by how many people are going and making like I can't even find a word for it because people just go crazy over her that they would probably work their butt off, work multiple jobs just so they can afford tickets to go see her.
Hmm. Yeah. Plus, she's from Pennsylvania, right? So
Yeah,
like,
she's from, I think
there you
she's from
go.
Allentown actually.
Yeah, yeah. She's from Pennsylvania. Yeah, she's or Reading or Allentown.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh yeah, it's Reading.
yeah. So I love her. You heard it first. You know, I love her just because of that reason. Because she's
Yeah, and plus, if she's from
PA.
Pennsylvania, it makes a lot of Pennsylvanians love her more just because she's from our
Yeah,
state, which
yeah,
is nice. She's like first she started out a small venue. She wasn't big from
yeah.
the
It's
start. She
pretty
started out
incredible.
small Pennsylvania things outside of like probably Reading and things. Now she's performing at like Eagle stadiums and everything. It's insane.
Yeah,
And I can tell like she's probably making billions off of each show just because of ticket sales.
I know it's pretty incredible. You know, and but she like her work ethic too. You know, she deserves it. You
Yeah, she
know,
does. Like with
yeah,
her going to
yeah.
different like performing every single day, like I literally like cannot. Like performing for maybe like a 2 3 hour show each night, traveling to different places. Like it's a lot. Like I honestly applaud her because I could not do that. Like I honestly can't handle multiple meetings a day, let alone a big concert with millions of people there. Like doing every single day. I cannot. But to talk about performing, like how did you like network all over Pennsylvania to perform for different arenas and sports teams?
Um, well, trial and error, really. Just in general, like being a musician, it something I learned when I was in my graduate, my or not graduate, I'm sorry, my undergraduate degree is that there's like kind of three aspects of being a musician. No matter if you like it or you don't, there's always these three aspects, and you're never going to get away from either one of them. There's the performance aspect, there's the education aspect, and then there's the entrepreneurial aspect.
Mhm.
And so you're going to, no matter what, and it's just the day and age that we live in, you're going to have to perform. You're going to have to teach in some degree or another. And you're going to have to kind of be your own entrepreneur. You're going to have to be your own um, promotion. Um, and I learned that early on, luckily. And so for me, a lot of times what I would do, either if it's a concert series, if I'm performing like a concert or a recital, or if it's for these sports teams or big arenas, or if it's for a public figure of some sort, or uh, anything in that regard, um, I send emails, and you know sometimes I'll send out 50 emails to different concert venues about doing a recital or a concert, or if it's for a sports team. And I'll send these emails with all my information, like my website and my social media accounts now, and different recordings or YouTube videos. And sometimes I get a lot back. Sometimes I'll send out 100 and I'll get one email, or I won't get anything back. And that's just kind of the way of the game. So what I learned was just trial and error, just kind of sending and promoting myself, and then also calling, you know, getting phone calls like once a week, just kind of following up on different things. So with performing for sports arenas and sports teams, it all started in 2015, where the Philadelphia Phillies reached out to me. I'm uh, like I mentioned, I was born right outside Philadelphia in Upper Darby, Pennsylvania. And so I reached out to the Phillies initially in 2014. I sent in a tape actually of myself performing the national anthem, and they reached back out to me in 2015 to perform. And so I performed actually God Bless America was my first performance. It wasn't the anthem, it was God Bless America. And they really enjoyed my performance because the following year they invited me back. And they invited me back to do the Fan Appreciation Day, which was, a sold out crowd of like 44,000 people. And it was Ryan Howard's last game. Ryan Howard is, one of the beloved Phillies that won the World Series, and so that was pretty big that they invited, me to perform the anthem. And then every year since then, they have invited me back to perform at least once. Now that last year they invited me to perform twice, which was very, very touching to have that happen. But actually, with all the other venues and all the other sports teams, that happened in the past maybe 2 years. Last year I kind of had the epiphany, so to speak, or the kind of thought, the idea that I really enjoy performing the anthem. I really enjoy performing in these big arenas and for these sports teams and paying respect to the country. I really enjoy doing that. And I feel like I'm relatively good at it. Obviously because I keep getting invited back from the Phillies, And
Of course, like performing for 1,000
yeah.
fans, you have to be pretty good actually, like performing for the Phillies. Like,
Well, yeah, so I was like, why don't, and it was hard to do this because, Philly fans, no matter if they're for the Phillies or the Eagles or the Sixers, you're kind of, you're pretty stuck with your teams, so to speak. But I felt like, why I'm kind of cutting off my own wings,
yeah.
so why don't I branch out, and try and like see if I can perform for other teams and other fans and other arenas. And so I reached out to Scranton Wilkes-Barre RailRiders, who was right here, right by me. And they were very interested in having me perform. So I performed for them. And actually, I performed for them now for a couple times. I've actually developed quite a good relationship with them. Before reached out to the Yankees this past year, and they responded right back to me that they were interested, which was pretty amazing. They were pretty excited that I was teaching in New York, and I got the job at Bethel Woods, so which is in Bethel, New York. So they invited me to perform this past April. So it's all these contact and all these performances for sports teams, to answer your question, and arenas, all happened with just me emailing, sending my information, and then putting the rest up to the forces at will, if they're interested or they're not. I'm pretty good at bugging people,
I'm the same way.
yeah, so I'm
I'm
pretty
like the
good
queen
at
of bugging
sending.
people about
Yeah,
something.
so I like, and I know it might be kind of a pain sometimes for people. It's like, oh, here's this John Maurer again inquiring about performing, but that's what I think you have to be, especially nowadays. You kind of have to always be on the back of people's minds, because there's a lot going on and there's so much information happening at once. Especially that people that promote for these arenas and these sports teams, and especially when it comes to like Major League Baseball and so forth. They get hundreds of thousands of emails. I can only imagine a day. So if I didn't do so, I wouldn't be in the back of their mind. When they need a performer, they'll be like, oh, you know what, that John Maurer, he's interested. Why don't I reach out to him? So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Does actually, especially if you perform for like a big sports team like the Phillies, and when organizations or sports teams see that, they're like, oh, this John Maurer guy actually performed for the Phillies. So why not get their little competition there and come perform for the Yankees. If they see that you
Right.
perform for the Phillies, a host table paves the way for performing with other sports teams.
Yeah.
It's a big resume builder, to say the least. It's a big help to actually perform for a big sports team. That especially Philly
Yeah.
sports fans, like they're diehard. Like they'll go in.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, they're diehard, which is the reason why, I kind of had some I felt kind of bad at first, doing it, because like I said, West Philadelphia, right outside West Philly, Philly sports fans, they're diehard, you
Mhm.
know. And one of my best friends, is a diehard Phillies fan. I took him to my first performance when I played for the Phillies. But the way I saw it was, I gotta kind of spread my wings and fly a little bit. You know what I mean? And everybody deserves a performance. Everybody deserves the anthem. Doesn't mean that I can't come home. Which is what happened actually last month. I played for the Yankees in April, and last month I played for the Phillies. They had me back for my 10th performance. So I'm hoping, and at the same time, I kind of found my niche, so to speak, in performing the anthem and performing "God Bless America" and performing for these big sports events. Because like, how many trumpet players do you know that do that?
I know, yeah, true.
You know,
It's
um,
weird.
exactly. So I kind of found my niche, so to speak, and I like doing it, which is the most important thing. I enjoy doing it to pay respect to the country, and that sort of thing. So yeah.
That's the most important thing. I think that's honestly the perfect way to this episode up. I really appreciate everyone for listening. I know we've been kind of on the grind lately over the last couple of weeks, which is unexpected since we kind of been a little downfall over the last couple of months. So I'm so excited to be back and really appreciate you, John, for joining us today. And thank you all for that you're doing. It's definitely making a difference. And hopefully one of these days we'll see you performing at the Philly Stadium one of these days.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
So thank you everyone again for listening. Make sure to like, subscribe, and review, and I'll talk to you guys soon.